Well, animals are certainly a favorite creature of mine, as you well know. But Gandhi also felt the same way, and I have to read you this quote just because it's so fitting to what we're going to talk about next. Gandhi said, "The greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. I hold that the more helpless a creature, the more entitled it is to protection by man and from the cruelty of mankind." Thank you, my friend, my next guest, Robert Franklin. Wonderful to have you on today.
Thank you, thank you.
A Phoenix resident, you're up here. You're also an animal rights advocate and activist and a PETA member.
Yes.
And that's People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Sounds like you and Gandhi have something in common.
I aspire to be that.
I tell you, don't we all, seriously. Well, Fur Free Friday is coming up this Friday, right?
Next Friday.
Next Friday,
yes.
Okay, not this Friday, next Friday. We have a little time to prepare. So
yes.
What is Fur Free Friday?
Fur Free Friday is a day where a lot of advocates and activists get together in front of a shopping center and kind of educate and encourage the customers to leave things like fur, leather, wool off of the shopping list this year. We want to encourage customers to shop compassionately and to leave the cruelty off of it. Animals, unfortunately, have to die to get their skins, and so we would just want to see that left off the list this year.
All right, good. Now we'll talk about. I want to talk about, ask you questions about. You mentioned wool, and and also, well, of course, leather.
Right.
But wool is interesting. I want to talk to you about that. But nevertheless, fur. I mean, yes. At one point, I had a white fox coat that someone had given me, and I think as your awareness kind of comes up, so where they come from, when you actually think about, as you said, where does these beautiful fur coats and stuff, what is the price for people to wear those? And I had to get rid of it. It was beautiful, but
right.
At some point you can't. I mean, I think cave people, obviously that's where it originated, right? You think wearing fur?
It's possible that's where it originated, but now we're in 2017. It's completely unnecessary. There's a lot of man-made materials that look just as nice, are just as warm, and nobody had to die in order to create them.
That is true, and they're so good now that literally I look at them and I think, is that real? Or it's almost like you're afraid to wear some of them just because if you are a fur-free advocate, as I certainly am, then you don't want to even kind of look like you are wearing animals.
Right, absolutely.
But you're right. The fur thing is so amazing. But why do you think people still are wearing other creatures' skin?
People think that it's luxurious, or people think that it is a status symbol. And really, we just need to evolve past that point. We no longer need to rely on animals for our survival, so we just need to push past that point. The animals go through horrific conditions today. We're not just hunting anymore. What this is factory farms, and these animals are bred for their fur specifically. They're a lot of times electrocuted and then skinned alive if the electrocution doesn't actually kill them.
Oh, and it's so hard. If we don't know this, we don't understand minks, ermines. I mean, I couldn't even name all the animals that, as you said, are wild animals. They're never pets, and they are farmed, factory farmed.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing you talk about pets is a lot of times in places like China and India, we're not actually, there's no regulation, so we don't know where these animals and what species they are. And sometimes they are dogs and cats, and sometimes they're actually people's pets that were stolen from them, end up into our fur trade, and there's no tracing that. And so we just better just to leave fur off.
Well, and I know a few years ago, these cute little animal things came out, little statues and toys and whatever, that were so furry and wonderful. And, we're thinking, oh, they're rabbit, which is the same thing. Factory farm, there's still the cruelty involved with it, and you're still wearing another animal's skin. But it turns out we think they came from China, and you're right, that they were domestic animals, cats and dogs, which we have a special affinity for them.
Absolutely.
But every animal deserves our protection and not our abuse for our own needs. How about staying warm? If you don't wear fur-free, if people are wearing fur because they think it's the warmest thing, what are the options?
There are a ton of options out there. I suggest people go to PETA.org to look up those options. But there's warmer options out there for us. Our technology now, like, is just completely unnecessary. There's just a ton of options out there for people.
Wow. Now, leather is obviously the same thing, you know, but if, you know, in the industry where we're eating the animal, I think that's a byproduct, but certainly kind of this...
Unfortunately, it actually isn't a byproduct.
Really?
Today, we know that they're actually separate industries a lot of the times. A lot of the times just because cost effectiveness, they have these cows that are brought up specifically for their skins, and then the rest of it, what we would consider meat, is actually just thrown away. And this is really unfortunate this happens, but this is unfortunately the industry that we live in today.
Oh my God.
So they are separate industries.
Right. And what about wool?
Wool, unfortunately, is also a very horrible thing that these sheep go through. They are sheared, and often their skin is cut, they're beaten a lot of times to maximize the amount of fur somebody can take per hour. They're not paid per hour, they're paid per pound. And so the wool is unfortunately sheared from them in a very violent fashion. And the misconception that we need to shear wool from a sheep all the time is actually just because we've bred them that way. And if we just didn't breed sheep for their wool, they would actually naturally shed their wool in the summer. So
possibly, because I know we have like small farmers who their animals are treated what we would say ethically, kindly, and not badly, and then if they're hand sheared by their people who care about them, I think that could be a different thing too.
Unfortunately, again, if you check out PETA.org, they've exposed
More
a lot of
information.
these small farms to be just as brutal as the large factory farms.
And it's all education. To me, it's all education.
Yeah,
we don't
absolutely.
know. So again, a great thing to do. Just get informed. You know,
get
check
informed.
it out.
Absolutely, check it out
Wonderful.
yourself.
And we've been showing pictures of some of the different things, the way people can get involved. And again, on PETA.org, they can maybe, we have a week, not this Friday, next Friday, Fur-Free Friday to help, you know, educate ourselves and also other people get more aware. So now I was over at a friend's last night and I have a picture, and to me, this is the only way that you should wear fur. Let's take a look at Stevie and his buddy. Oh, okay, well, maybe we're going to get that on, okay, after the break. We'll be back. We'll take a look at Steve and his buddy, the only way you should wear fur. Thank you, Robert Franklin. Appreciate you joining us. All right, don't go.